Hello, everyone. Good evening again. And we are at Unit 9 from our science workbook, page 68. The title of our unit is What Happens to the Food We Eat? Has anybody ever thought about that particular question? When you eat this
Not
food,
really, sir.
what happens to it? I can remember somebody asking the question, if I eat a seed, will it grow in my belly?
No, sir.
Will it become a tree?
No,
What
sir.
happens to the food we eat? All right, Talia, read the first section for me, please.
To make use of the food we eat, it must be broken down into small pieces. The process by which food is broken down and made soluble so that it can pass into the bloodstream is called digestion.
Hold on a second.
The digestive,
Hold on. That word is soluble.
yes, sir.
Go again now, digestive system.
The digestive system is made up of the alimentary canal. This is a long tube which starts at the mouth and ends at the anus. It is made up of the gullet, stomach, small and large intestines. This tube is long enough to give the food sufficient time to be broken down, digested, and absorbed in the bloodstream.
All right, so the process of digestion. Digestion starts almost as soon as food enters the mouth. The teeth cut and grind the food. So, what do the teeth do?
Cut and grind the food.
All right. So when the food is chewed, it mixes with saliva, which softens it, making it easier to swallow. An enzyme, what's that word?
Enzyme.
In the saliva changes starch into sugar, thereby beginning the process of digestion. So there's something in your saliva, in your spit, that changes starch to sugar.
Sugar.
After chewing, the tongue moves the food to the back of the mouth. Swallowing takes place and food enters a tube called the gullet or esophagus. The muscles in the esophagus push the food along into the stomach. This is a sac which holds food for a time. When the food leaves the stomach, it is in liquid form. What form is it in?
Liquid form.
It then enters the small intestine, where most of the digestion takes place. Here, different enzymes digest carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These digestive nutrients are absorbed through the walls of the small intestine and then into the bloodstream. From the blood, the nutrients are carried to all parts of the body. The organs use these substances to produce energy, provide growth, and repair body tissues. Talia?
Undigested foods pass into the colon, which is the longest part of the large intestine. One of the main one of the main functions of the large intestine is to remove excess water from the undigested food, leaving a semi-solid waste. This the huh? The semi-solid remains called feces goes to the rectum where it is stored. It is then ingested from the body through the anus. The series of rhythmic contractions of the digestive tract moves food down the alimentary canal by a process known as peristalsis.
Peristalsis. Call the word again for me.
Peristalsis.
All right, good. Note, read that section.
The liver and pancreas are not part of the alimentary canal, but they help in the digestive process. They produce enzymes that help to digest food. The liver produces a green fluid called bile, which aids the digestion of fats inside the small intestine. The pancreas produces pancreatic juices containing enzymes which digest protein, starches, and fats.
All right, very good. So the reading is quite short, but let's start with the mouth. So when food gets into you, and the only things that you should be putting in your mouth would be food, right? A lot of children like to
Yes,
find
sir.
all type of things, so dirty fingers, dirty bottles, balloons, chewing
Yes,
on
sir.
straws, and all of those things, right? What should
Yes,
go
sir.
in? Food. When the food
Food.
gets in, what happens? The teeth. I remember from grade 4, you know the different, from grade 3 rather, you know the different type of teeth. We have our what? Our,
Molars.
now let's start with the incisors. Those are for what? Anybody
Slicing.
remember? Not, I wouldn't say slicing. For cutting.
Yes, sir. Cutting.
Then we have our
Canine.
canines for what? Tearing and ripping,
Tearing and ripping.
right? Then we have our molar, premolars, and the molars, and
Molar.
those are for mostly what?
Crushing and grinding.
Crushing and grinding. All right. So that's what the food, the teeth is supposed to do to the food. Some people though, they don't, like when I was at high school and in the lunchroom, there's a boy that would always finish so quickly. We ask the question, you don't chew? He said, no, he doesn't chew rice. He swallows rice. Right? No, that's not good, because you need to do what? Chew the food to break it up so that the enzymes can get to work on the food properly. So when you chew
Yes,
your
sir.
food, you increase the surface area. You're increasing the surface area over which those enzymes can work to properly break it down so you can get the energy you need from your food. So chewing is important. So chewing is a valid and important part of digestion. So we want to break down the food mechanically with the teeth to increase the surface area so that the enzymes can work on the food chemically to make it soluble so that it can be absorbed. All right. So let's look
Yes,
now
sir.
at after chewing, what comes next? The tongue rolls the food into a what? A ball.
Ball.
We call that little ball the bolus. Then we have swallowing. And by the rhythmic contractions of the alimentary canal, food is moved from one place to the next. All right. So it's moved from the throat by the tongue, then from the back of the mouth, all the way down the gullet into the stomach. The stomach will rub the food together. That rubbing process is called churning. The liquid that is in there is called chyme. After it is there for a while, then it will empty and it will go into the small intestine. And they say that this is where most of the food is digested and absorbed, right? And then it passes into the large intestine and it will go through the different parts. And then excess water is removed. When excess water is removed, we have the semi-solid waste that is left over, and it's stored in the rectum, and then it is removed from the body via the anus. So we understand from one end to the next end. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. So let's go to the questions. Number 1, what happens to food during digestion? Anybody can take that. Anybody? All right, I'll take that one then. I have here from my notes, it says food is broken down so that chemicals can work on it rather. So we can get the energy we need to live, grow, and repair our body. Do we all agree with that?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right, fair enough. Something is playing in somebody's background there. All right, good. Let's move on. What do you think would happen if there were no saliva in the mouth? Anybody?
Sir, sir, the staples in food would not change to sugars, and when you're chewing, sir, you need, sir, sir, like, sir, I don't know how to explain it.
All right, tell me this now. Have you ever, let me see if we can find a good example. Yes. You ever eat on dry crackers yet?
Yes, sir. That's what I
And,
was going to
and
say.
after a while, you just need to have something to drink.
Yes, sir.
If not, if not,
Would become dry.
your mouth will become dry.
Dry.
In fact, the food wouldn't go down well at all, right?
No,
So
sir.
moistening the food is very important, all right? Or you're going to end up in a situation where you're coughing, your throat dry, you need something to drink, you're choking, whatever it is. We need to have our food moistened. That's why we have to drink lots of water so we can produce enough of these juices that aid in digestion. So saliva, the digestive juices found in the stomach, those that are found in the small intestine, all of those juices, we need to have an adequate supply of water to produce these in sufficient quantity. So if we don't have any saliva, then we're going to end up not being able to swallow that food properly. That's one. And two, if we don't have saliva, then as TC was saying, that first section of digestion will not begin. It does not mean that it does not happen further on, because it will happen in the small intestines. But, it's best if it is started in the mouth, and then when it goes to the small intestine, you have more surface area on which to do what? To work. All right. Name the kinds of foods that can be digested by the small intestine. Anybody?
What?
Protein and fat.
If we go down to page 68 from the bottom, count from the bottom, where you say small intestines
Sir,
in bold
protein and fat.
letters, it says it enters the small intestine where most of the digestion takes
Please.
Plates.
Here, the different enzymes digest what, and what.
Sir, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats.
All right. So name the different kinds of foods that can be digested by the small intestine. What are they?
Carbohydrates,
Hydrates,
proteins, and
proteins, and
fats.
fats.
All right. So which organs now? Number 4 are essential in the digestion, but are not essential in digestion rather, but are not part of the alimentary canal.
Sir, the liver and the pancreas.
Excellent. The liver and the pancreas.
Pancreas.
Okay. What happens to undigested food?
Sir, they pass into the colon.
Mm-hmm. What else happens?
Sir, they
Excess water is removed, and then whatever is left over is what?
ingested
Egested from the body through the
anus.
anus. All right. So undigested food is ingested from the what?
Anus.
From the body. All right. How does food move from the back of the mouth to the stomach?
Sir,
Uterine.
Go ahead.
sir, after the swallowing takes place, sir, the food enters through a tube called the gullet or the esophagus, and the
Mhm.
muscles in the gullet push the food along into the stomach.
What is that movement called? Hint starts with P.
Mm.
Anybody wants to look at that? If we look just at the last bold letter before note on page 69, you'll see the
Sir,
name
peristalsis.
peristalsis. All right. So, how does food move from the back of the mouth to the stomach? By swallowing, right? And peristalsis. What's the main function of the teeth? TC.
Sir, to chew your food, and sir, so when it's going down, it does not. Sir, you need to chew your foods.
All right.
Sir, to grind the food.
Let me tell you what I have. So we need function of the teeth: cutting, crushing, grinding, and making a what? A larger surface area for enzymes to act on. Right? That's why we need to chew our food properly, and that will be the main function of our teeth. Let's go over to page 70. What role does the tongue play in digestion?
Sir, swallowing.
Test this with swallowing. Yes. One more. We know that it moves food around in the mouth, right? Have you
Yes,
ever been
sir.
chewing something and you meet up on like a tough piece and you just use your tongue and just move it back into place so that the teeth can continue to work on it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so your tongue helps to move food around in your mouth. Also, it rolls the food into the small balls that we mentioned earlier called the bolus, and then it puts it to the back of the throat. All right. Let's jump now from there, and we're going to go down to 15 to 24. We have some words here: nutrients, small intestines, enzymes, esophagus, bile, digestion, alimentary canal, peristalsis, pancreas, and feces. Number 15. Saliva is changed from... No, this is not right. Saliva is not changed. Saliva helps to change starch to sugar by an... Anybody?
Sir, enzyme.
By an... All right, let me give you a hint. The word starts with E.
Enzyme, sir.
Sir, enzyme.
Enzyme. Very good. So the enzyme in the saliva helps to change starch to sugar. Number 16. The organ which contains some special juices is the... Hint starts with P.
Sir, the pancreas.
Pancreas would work. Number 17. Substances in food needed for growth are called...
Nutrients.
I'll take that one. A muscular tube running from the mouth to the anus.
Mm.
Large intestine.
No, not larger. Large intestine is a part of it. Hint starts with A.
So the alimentary canal.
Alimentary canal. Yes, that one is good. The removal of undigested waste. No, that's not what's there. The removal of undigested remains of food from the anus is called.
Feces.
No, sir. The removal, the process.
So peristalsis.
No.
So egestion.
Egestion is the answer we're looking for. Number 20. The tubes that carry food and fluid from the stomach is known as the. All right, skip that one. The semi-solid waste which passes through the rectum is known as.
Feces.
Feces would be correct. Anybody wants to take the next one?
So the small intestine.
Say that again for me.
So the small intestine.
Good. So the digestion of most food takes place in the small intestine. What about the next one?
So is it bile?
Bile is correct. A fluid which is produced by the liver is bile, and bile helps to break down fat so that we can absorb it properly. When you go to high school, they're going to be talking about the emulsification of fat, right? Making fat, increasing the surface area of fat so that the enzymes can work on fat. Last one. The involuntary movement of food down the alimentary canal is known as. Involuntary, I don't have to think about it. Hint starts with P.
Sir, could you repeat the question?
It's the last one. The involuntary movement of food down the alimentary canal is known as, and I gave the hint that it starts with P.
Peristalsis, sir.
Is it pancreas?
No, it can't be pancreas. We use pancreas
So
already.
is it already?
Peristalsis.
Peristalsis.
So Abigail said that.
Okay, very good. All right, guys, we're going to stop here. You can fill in the other page. And when next we meet, we'll be talking about the food and energy chain. All right, so take the time, read this over, please. We might not be seeing a lot of these questions anymore on the exam. However, it's still good for us to know these basic facts about our body, okay?
So when are we getting the mock exams?
Hopefully this week, Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Depends on if we get enough paper to do so. All right?
Yes,
All right, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you guys tomorrow. Come prepared. After this, we're done with the science. I'm not going to go over the topics that we did in grade 6. So we'll be done with this science book. All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, take care.